Hello, everyone. Let me get rid of this music. I was just frantically texting our guest, Christine. She can't find the invite. So she's like, "Where is it?" Oh, she got it. So she'll be here shortly. Welcome to Mary Walter Radio. I was glad to have you. Sorry we were not on last week. We were away and I had very dicey internet. So wasn't sure if we would be able to hold the connection. I was pretty sure we would not be able to hold the connection. You could we sometimes lost cell service, so I didn't think internet was really going to hold. So I apologize about that. But I missed you. I missed everybody. Let's do a. Oh, by the way, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the podcasts when you watch them. It really helps if you like the podcast. Definitely helps with these algorithm things that they have going on. I just want to say thank you to I cannot even say your name. M. Droll Bulls Hassan. Thank you. Appreciate the comment. RH and Discat and Zach and Sean, thank you so much for subscribing. Appreciate it. Oh, look who's here. There she is, that beautiful face. There she is.
Hi,
Hello,
gorgeous.
Christine. How
How
are
are
you?
you? I'm good. I'm good.
I'm
Can you hear
doing
me okay?
good. You,
Good. Okay. I have this air
yeah, I can
conditioner
hear
thing
you.
on. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I have my air conditioner portable unit on because my condo association will kill me if I have a window unit because it falls out and hits somebody in the head. So I
Right.
have a very loud air conditioner. I just hope you guys can hear me over it.
Do you have one of those ones that has the hose and you put it in the window and it's just the hose in the window?
Uh-huh. That's what's making the noise. It's like, and it's a
I
big
don't.
hose. But that
Well,
this is a G-rated show, right?
yes. Well, we have one of those in our computer room because we didn't have air conditioning in this house until about 8 years ago.
Oh wow.
So we only had a portable unit in our study where the computers were because we lost like two computers and a printer in 1 year because of the humidity. So we had that, and then we put one in my studio because it's in the attic.
Mhm. Mhm.
So and that has two hoses. And then we had air conditioning put in. But I got to tell you, I'm sorry, everybody, but at the Jersey Shore, we were not under the excessive heat warning. The rest of you were. We haven't had one yet. So the wind has been off the water. That changes in August. It starts to come off the land a little bit more. Starts to get hotter. Starts to become more. But it's been humid, and there's a big fly on my computer screen. I don't want to squish him.
And
I
while
would
you're
like to let
doing
him.
that, I'm gonna fix my hair because it's hot in this room and I'm putting it up. I don't care. I'm doing
Oh, you poor thing. I'm so
on-screen.
sorry.
No, no, no. It's okay. I'm doing on-screen changes.
That's
Hi,
okay.
hello.
So do you not have air conditioning?
I have it, but it's not working really well. It's just kind of. I'm looking at it. It's there in the distance, and it doesn't really cool the room that much. But I'm fine. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Falling
Yeah, I'm
apart.
sorry. I feel for you. But like I said, for the longest time, we slept with just a fan in our bedroom. Just a little fan on a stand if it was really hot. So
You
you
know,
get
my
used to it.
grandmother, my little Italian grandmother, felt that air conditioned air was the devil. She thought that it brought the plague. So when I would go over to her house, we would do this. We would have that. She would have the fan in the window, and
Yep.
it would be circulating hot air from outside into the room. And I'm like, Mom, you're just making it worse. You're just circulating hot air, which is not cooling anything off. And she goes, you don't know what you're talking about, Christina. You get that air conditioning air, you get that freon stuff. It's going to kill your lungs.
So we're off on a tangent here, but that's okay. So I'm one of those people, like we have awnings on over every window, and I will tell you right now, awnings are totally worth it. We have them put up in the beginning of the summer, taken down in the fall. They will cool this house 10 degrees easily. And they
Really?
use no electricity. Yeah, it keeps the sun out. We get up in the morning and my husband closes any shades that are open, and you close the shades and then you pull the drapes because the darkness it keeps the sun out. So you get rid of all of that solar heating. All of that's gone. And at night we open everything up and you open the windows and the cool air comes in. And so we rarely use the air conditioning just because we're so used to living without it
Yeah.
that and I will tell you, you want to lose weight, turn your air conditioning off. Best way to lose weight.
Oh my God, I know. It's like a human sauna. And I absolutely agree. I would much rather have the windows open, the air coming in, the air circulating. It's just that sometimes the humidity, again, I sound like a Philadelphian. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Because I can deal with heat. For a short while, I lived in Idaho, and it was fabulous. It was clean and crisp. And I know you've been out west, and that mountain air is just in the higher elevations. It gets very hot, but if you go in the shade, it's 20 degrees cooler. And at night, everything goes down, and the cement doesn't absorb the heat like it does here in Philadelphia.
Right.
It's been 75 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning outside. So when you start out in the morning with 75 degrees, there's no place to go but hell. So.
No. Well, some people would say if you're in Philadelphia, you're in hell. So there's that. And what was it from 1776, the musical? Foul-fetid, fuming, foggy, filthy Philadelphia.
Who was it? Who was the famous? I'm sure a couple of your viewers would know. He was the famous Philadelphian, a misanthrope, and on his tombstone it said, "All things considered, I'd rather be in Philadelphia."
Oh yes.
W.C. Fields. What was his name? I don't remember his name.
I'll look it up. Well, keep going.
But and also I have my allergies going. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's hilarious. Philadelphia, believe me, Philadelphia has some problems. However, we have Amber Rose, who did a very good job last night at the RNC. And she's a Philly girl, born and raised. I think she did a fantastic job. And she's freaking out a bunch of people on Instagram because she is a Philly girl. They're like, she doesn't represent the city. And I'm like, really? Who represents the city? Who represents the city for us? Larry Kill Them All Krasner. Jim, I don't want to be mayor anymore, even though I'm still getting a paycheck from the taxpayers. Kenny, who really represents Philadelphia? I'm very happy to have Amber Rose represent Philadelphia. If that's what we do, represent, girl.
So, and then it was W.C. Fields. I'm going to get to some of your comments, and since you kind of delved into the RNC, let's talk about that a little bit here coming up, because then we'll go into the assassination thing. So, very quickly, let's see who's here. Watching your back. Bill is here. Ron is here. Porchview's here. Let's see. Ron wants to know, will Murphy install fishnets into Gold Bob's seat? I don't even know what that means. Kermit Sal is here. Yay. Scott's here. Gregory's here. He said, I need one of those fancy satellite phones being advertised all over the radio. Yeah, I could. I listen, we were away up north, upstate New York in the Adirondacks. And when I was doing a radio show regularly at night, we would drive up to this little rest area across from Bucket's Bog, which is a farm, and they have mud races there in the off season when they're not growing. They have mud races, and it's called Bucket's Bog. And I'd have to sit there. We'd have like the phone on the roof and the this and that. And sometimes if they were having races, it was too loud, so I'd have to go to Walmart. And I'd sit in the parking lot of the Walmart and do my radio show from the back seat. So that's happened. Oh, we lost Christine. Speaking of bad connections, she's gone. All right. Jerry is here. Suze is here. That Hal says the flies protein, don't waste it. Granville is here. Granville says, I was in Savannah. The humidity was nastier than Maxine Waters. We don't have AC. We have fans, Porchview Farm says. Yeah, we had AC when I was a kid growing up, and my dad would only turn it on for company. If there was company coming, my dad would turn it on. Otherwise, he would not. So I just grew up with go outside and sit under a tree and read a book. And that was just it. And we didn't have fans in our rooms. My parents had one of those double fans in the window. And if you were really hot when you were sleeping and you couldn't get to sleep, you were allowed to bring your like a pillow and a blanket or whatever and lay on the floor in my parents' room. Excuse me. And sit there. Here she is. I knew she'd be back. Yay.
I'm so sorry, guys. My boss, I'm using my cell phone right now. It's sort of like it's like poetic justice that you're talking about being in the Adirondacks and at Walmart trying to get a signal. Just at that moment, my boss decides to call me on my cell phone. I had to press the button to get rid of him, but then I got rid of you. So
oh well, that's okay.
Technology.
That's okay. Sue says, I am in Ocean City, New Jersey. I spent a summer there on St. Charles Place between 1st and 2nd. Much cooler than my hometown. The beach was lovely today. I even shivered. Ooh, look at her being all salty.
What part of Jersey did she say she was in?
Ocean City.
I love Ocean City. Love,
Yeah.
love, love Ocean City.
Yeah, a lot of good memories there from my college years. And then we would go down to Avalon and we go to the varsity. And what was the other club? And we went to just south of there, and we went to Shenanigans. What was the name of that south?
Stone
I got
Harbor?
Seaside Park stuck in my head, but that's not it. It's south of
Sea Isle
there.
City. Sea Isle City.
Senile City. Yes, we used to go to
Senile-
Senile City. Yes,
Senile
in the
City.
summer when
I've
I
never
was
heard
in
that,
college,
but
that's where we would go.
Can I tell you something really quickly? In 1976, because I'm from Philadelphia, so we went to South Jersey. In 1976, my dad rented a place in Senile City, and we were so excited, Mary. And I get there and we unpack, and I'm sitting on the back deck, and there on the clothesline of our neighbors are these habits. Nuns' habits are hanging. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what is this? And I went inside and I said, Daddy, what's next door? And he said, oh, I think it's the Mercy Nuns Retreat House for the summer. I said, are you kidding me? I go to Marian Mercy Academy. I'm surrounded by Mercy nuns all year. I can't even have fun during the summer because I'm right next door to Sister Mary David. Anyway.
That's hilarious. Let's see. Herman Sound, my AC is a fan blowing against a block of ice. That works. Don't knock it.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah. Greg, we only had box fans in Chicago when I was a kid. It was about 1985 before we moved to a place with AC. Like I said, we had it, but we used to beg my father to turn it on. He's like, nope, it's too expensive. Only if we would pray, is anybody coming to visit this weekend? Please invite somebody to visit. Please have friends over. Sue says, Christina, I love when you're on PHT with Dawn and others. Yay!
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She must be a Philly girl. Or she must be from down our area. Mwah, mwah,
yes,
love.
She is. Christine, is it true that in the Pennsylvania town where the assassin came from, they are really Democrats who register as Republicans to sabotage Republicans' chances for victory?
No, and I will tell you, and Selena Zito wrote a great piece about this. Where they are in Butler is a red area. If you go just maybe 100 miles, I think it's southwest or southeast, you're in Allegheny County. Allegheny County is as blue as Philadelphia and that surrounding area. And Erie is also, which is way, way northwest, is very blue. But Butler is not. Butler is a red area. My good friend Karen, who is outside of Pittsburgh, says that Butler is an area that she has many friends there, and it is a red area. So can I also say something about this whole registered as Republican?
Yes.
I have switched between Republican and Democrat for many years, depending on the primary, because Pennsylvania has closed primaries, which means that if you are a Republican, you cannot vote in the Democratic primary. You can't have any impact on a Democrat's choice. So the fact that someone may be registered, I was registered as a Democrat as recently as 5 months ago, because I was trying to impact the district attorney's race in Philadelphia. And unless you're registered as a Democrat, you can't vote in the Democratic primary. I was trying to knock out Larry Krasner. And then I got kind of lackadaisical and forgot to switch back to independent. But I've registered as a Republican, as a Democrat. The fact that this kid was a registered Republican means absolutely nothing. Oops. He could, and his parents, one was a registered Democrat, one was a libertarian. So this whole idea that they're trying to float that he was actually one of us, he was actually a conservative, it doesn't have any weight. Well, and again, to circle back, Butler is a red area. It's not.
But this would have been his first election to vote in.
Exactly.
So, and I don't like this idea of, he was a Republican, so our hands are clean. I don't know a Republican who would try to assassinate the front runner if you really want to win an election. So that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like when we go down that rabbit hole. Either side, I think it doesn't really help us much.
I agree.
I'd like to know what medication.
The fact that he
Yeah.
donated $15 to, I mean, Judge Merchan donated $15 to Democratic to Biden. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. These are all, you know, this is nickel and dime stuff. People trying to slap labels on these individuals. You have to go much, much deeper than what were they registered as. Because again,
Right.
just a few months ago, I was registered as a Democrat, and nobody would call me a Democrat.
Yeah. I would. Jerry, Shore says Brigantine is a stuffy, humid oven today, even now with the sun setting. Oh, sorry. We got this nice breeze off the water here. Sorry, Jerry. Move north. Move north into Monmouth County. Anton, remember watching the 1980 RNC in my parents' bedroom, only room with an AC window unit. Ronald Reagan gave a great acceptance speech. You know, it's so interesting. I was so not involved as a kid in politics coming up, not even into college. Nobody was really that it was that involved in any of it. It wasn't something we were much more involved in the NCAA basketball championships than we were in any kind of political event. And when it came to voting, for the 99% of the time, it's my parents, who should I vote for? Right. And they would just tell me that that's what I did. Right. Because I didn't know, I wasn't aware. It wasn't really until after I was married that I started to pay attention and started to look at things. Because you know what, when you're married, now you're paying taxes, you're paying your own electric bill, you're paying your own rent, you're paying your own car payment. Like now I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should pay attention to this stuff. And then I got involved in political talk radio, and of course that's now my life. So now I'm super involved in it. But it's interesting how I never watched that with my parents at all. So
And I think
interesting.
that that's interesting that you would say that too, because we're basically of the same generation, which would be considered the Reagan generation. We were young people. We were
Yes.
late teens and just our early 20s during the Reagan years. He really galvanized a conservative youth quake, a conservative youth movement. But that doesn't mean that they were politically active at that stage. I think a lot of
Right.
people just started becoming more socially conservative, fiscally conservative, but that doesn't mean that they were active in, like you said, active in politics. I voted in every election that I could vote in, but it was basically mom, dad, you know, who are you voting for? Who do you think is the good candidate? Because to be really honest, there may be some very involved young Republicans and Democrats these days, but I think so many of them really do take their lead from their parents, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't believe this young kid had a deeply formed political
No. Well,
empathy.
I think a lot of them who are very politically active on college campuses or high school campuses now are just regurgitating what the school has taught them, what their teachers have taught them, not necessarily what their parents have taught them, but it's a group think, and it makes you popular if you're part. Like one of the kids said that one of his classmates said that it's very quickly here. Portuguese Farm says, I know Butler well. She also said, Anton, I watched with my dad's mom. It was a wonderful experience. Chris says, I didn't get Mary's notification. Well, Chris, that's not my fault. I'm sorry. One of his classmates said, you know, he had been very horribly bullied every single day.
I heard that too.
And I want to tie that into the Amber Rose thing. And that he ate lunch alone every day. He goes, I even tried to befriend him. I tried to sit with him, but he just like couldn't. And both his parents were social workers. They're both therapists, so like counselors. Um, which I find odd that they didn't know that their kid had communication issues. Like, how did they not see this troubled kid? I mean, you could tell by looking at him that that kid was bullied. Just look at him, you know this kid was bullied.
Yeah.
And they said he was horribly bullied almost every single day because he always wore hunting clothes to school. Like that was his thing. He always wore hunting clothes to school, and he separated himself. But they said that one of his classmates said they took a social science class, and you had to stand in the middle of the room and go to this side of the room if you feel this way, go to this side of the room if you feel that way. And on some issues, he was the only kid standing on the conservative side. Where the other kids, to my point, I think a lot of them are like, well, I'm not going to be the only kid over there. So they go over to a side that they don't necessarily agree with because that's where their friends are. That's where the cool kids are. That's what they do. So he had the courage of his convictions to do that in high school. But I also think he just didn't care what the kids in high school thought. It just came across like kids try to befriend him allegedly, and said that he just, you talk to him and he would just give you this look, like just like a blank look. So maybe, I don't know, maybe a little Aspergery. I don't know.
You know, you make a fabulous point, Mary.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
it's hard to have sympathy for someone who tried to kill someone, and yet you just you just established that this young man, and he was a minor. I mean, he couldn't even drink legally. He was 20. Had a very difficult um, childhood and youth. And it sort of bears out something that I wrote in one of my columns, that words matter. Um, Words don't kill, but words can grease the trigger. This young man was probably not physically bullied, but verbally, mentally, emotionally bullied, and didn't have any kind of support system. So, to me, not only the horrible rhetoric that we're hearing from so many in progressive media about Trump being Hitler and Trump being a dictator and he's going to be a threat to democracy that needs to be neutralized, not only that, I think, had an impact on this young man, but from the very beginning, the kind of abuse that he was suffering. And when you have a mind that is already
Oh, she's gone again. Oh, all right, she's gone. And when you have a mind that's already, I think what she's going to say, oh, when you have a mind that's already been damaged with the words of classmates over and over and over again, being told you're this, being told you're that, I think it becomes more mushy and it becomes more susceptible. I want to just bring in a couple of things here, and then I want to go move on here. The shoemaker's kids syndrome, the cobbler's kids always have the worst shoes. Yeah. Hermit Sal says, I find it suspiciously interesting that the Secret Service kept away from that slightly sloped roof because it was a problem for them, but that kid had no trouble being on that roof. Yeah, exactly. She's back. You know what it is? She just likes to she likes to make an entrance on set.
no
So she does it once, she does it several times.
I keep getting phone calls. And, next time when we do this, I'm staying at my office and I'm doing it through the computer, because I told people, I said, I'm on with Mary. Do not call me. Leave me alone. And it's probably robocalls, but every time I get the call and I try and press the button to end it, it also ends you. So sorry about that.
That's okay, no worries. Um, Watching your back wants to know, are you on dial up?
It's like, gadong, 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 AOL. Yeah.
So I wanted to, you had mentioned the RNC, and I want to get into that. There's a lot of this here that a lot of it I think intertwined, and you had mentioned Amber Rose, and one of the things that's driving me absolutely crazy today is the people on the far right of the party. Like, how could you have this woman, speak at the RNC, and I to me, they're almost bullying her. Like, there's a
Yes.
lot of bullying going on because they're taking the high road. We're so morally superior to you. That's what the left does to us,
That's
right?
right.
Now look at you with the head shake. And then, we're now you have the far right, the conservative evangelical part of the party, who is ticked off that they're not getting, mandated federal abortion laws. What we want, I want it mandated on everybody. You know what? You don't like it when they mandate stuff on us. So
Mhm.
why can't you just let it be state by state and everybody can have their say? I get it. I don't like it, but I also understand that half a loaf of bread is better than no bread at all. And they don't seem to understand it. They want what they want when they want it, and they want it all. But they go after Amber Rose. And I thought she gave a great speech. She said, my dad challenged me. I believed everything the media was saying to me. And there's a lot of stories like this that are out there with people with tattoos on their face, and people who maybe you would walk to the other side of the street if you saw them, in a city. You may not want to be, you'd walk over. But these are people who, however they come to the moment where they wake up, and she said, my dad challenged me and I was going to show him. So I went and I did my research and I realized I was wrong. And my dad was actually right. So she embraced it and she shared her story. I think it was brilliant for Trump to invite her to the RNC. I think it was wonderful to invite her to RNC. The tent needs to be bigger, not smaller,
Well,
because you don't want to be the caricature of what the left says we are.
it's true. And she's been bullied from both sides. She was bullied, obviously, as I said before. She's been bullied by a lot of people in Philadelphia who are progressives and who are saying she doesn't represent us. How dare she? She's a rapper. She's supposed to be from Philly. She's supposed to represent our ethos and our spirit and our ethic. And how dare she say that she belongs with MAGA? That's from the far left. I had not heard as much from the far right, but I have no doubt that there are some pearl clutchers on the far right saying, how could you have a rapper there? Oh my God, she doesn't represent us, And it's sad because and I'm going to use this word advisedly, we ghettoize ourselves if we only accept people who say what we want to hear, look the way we want them to look. They all look like they're from, I don't know, Village of the Damned kids who all wear the same clothing, and they're all sweet little blondes with bow ties and things like that. We do have to be the bigger tent. We were always the bigger tent. We were the tent that allowed people to be fiscal conservatives and social liberals, or social conservatives, which is what I am, and more of a fiscal liberal who believe that there is a role for government in social services. And I think, unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where, as you said, we want everything and we want it now. We may diverge a little bit on the abortion issue, as you've seen me on social media. I have no problem whatsoever with people telling me they're voting for the GOP because they think that this is a way that, you have to do this stuff incrementally. That's totally fine. I am pissed off at the RNC's position on abortion because I think that they are catering to white suburban women. And unfortunately, I've seen these women who are basically, I've seen a catering to a certain type of conservative female who, and I've come in contact with them a lot in the suburbs of Philadelphia, who say, well, we will vote for this person, but we're really a little squeamish about anybody who's outright pro-life. That's fine. And that's fine if the GOP wants to do that. But then don't get angry at me for saying that this platform does not represent my view on abortion. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying vote your conscience. I'll vote my conscience. But
Right.
I'm not into incrementalism because I had 50 years of incrementalism. Then we got to Dobbs, and all of a sudden everybody's like, uh-oh, Rose overturned. We didn't want that. Well, anyway, but we can move on from abortion.
Yeah. Okay. Porch Reform says she loves her dad. She made me miss mine. Gregory, I had no idea who she was other than the tattoo, which was a little distracting. I enjoyed her speech. Chris, Trump is a freaking genius. How in the world did he learn about Amber Rose?
Well,
she's met him. She talked in her speech about when she got to meet him and Melania. So
she's got 23 million followers. I don't think she's actually someone that people don't know about, though. And Trump is a social media maven, so.
Yeah. Matt Walsh seems to have an issue with Amber Rose. Yes. And
I got a problem with Matt Walsh.
He's totally wrong on this one. There's other things that I agree with him on, but I think he's 100% wrong. What kind of role model is she? Guess what? Not everybody's a role model, but if you want to know what kind of role model she is, here's someone who we all have a point in our life where we go off the rails or maybe behave in a way that you look back on and go, oh, that probably wasn't such a good idea. It happens. But you learn, it's what you do with it. Do you learn from the lesson? She did. She grew up. She matured. She listened to her dad. She took the time to learn. Those are all great traits. And there's your role model right there, Matt. That bothers me with what he's saying. I think he's bullying her. I really do.
I'm sorry. I have a big problem with Matt Walsh. I used to love him. I used to listen to him all the time. Still agree with him on a lot of the life issues and a lot of things, but he is bullying, and he's done that with other people who disagree with his very Puritan almost view of what a woman's role in society should be. And so he's yeah, Michael Knowles had a similar kind of approach, and I don't understand these guys who should be welcoming a woman who is from the other side of the tracks, who understands what it is to be in certain neighborhoods that those guys never visited before, and yet came out of it supporting the same values that we do. So, get with it, guys.
Yeah. I agree. This was one of my favorite moments. I wanted to share this. So I'm sure everybody saw this, but I just wanted to share this. This is just lightens it up a little bit.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Great pleasure to see President Donald Trump safe. And if I may, before the benediction, give you this promise. You're going to be so blessed. You're going to be tired of being blessed. I guarantee it.
Leave it to a Catholic.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
All right, hold on. Yeah, but you know what, Christine? Hold on. I have to get out of this. Yeah, stop it. Okay, there we go. So, but you know what though? He blessed himself backwards, so he must be for us backwards. So instead of going left, right, he went right, left. So that's Ukrainian, Greek Orthodox.
I thought he was Roman Catholic. I might be wrong.
I thought he was too, but he went this way.
Maybe
and I was
he's
like,
left-handed.
oh, I don't think you can do it left-handed, can you?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, it's hard.
I don't know.
I guess you can. Oh, you mean you're not supposed to do it that way? I just curse myself.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what the rules are because I'm right-handed, so I don't have to. It's one less thing I got to worry about, you know. But that's me.
He didn't look like a Ukrainian. He didn't look like an Eastern Orthodox prelate. He looked like, to me, I don't know.
A regular.
Do your viewers out there have any clue? I could have sworn he was Roman Catholic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Porch View Farm said Episcopalian, but it's a different color that the Episcopalians wear than the Catholic priests, and they don't bless themselves, right? Well, they're Catholic light, so it's all the pomp and circumstance without the pesky rules.
And then
so
they add that extra part at the end of the prayer that it's like instead of just stopping at amen, the revised
right.
For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Right. And where is that coming from?
Well, it's funny. I go off on a tangent here. By the way, Gregory says he was not Catholic, but I can't tell you the religion he represented.
How do you know he's not Catholic?
I don't know. He looks Catholic, right? He looks like a priest, looks like a padre.
I could have sworn he was Catholic, but okay, that's fine. If he was, it doesn't matter. He was great stand-up.
There's a Irish comedian, and I sent this all around to the ladies group at church years ago. And he talked about going to a mixed wedding in Ireland where, one side's orange, one side's green, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, you get to the part where everybody stands up and they say the Our Father. He said, and the Catholics, of course, stop. And he goes, the Protestants go on. They go, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Because they get the last word. They're all happy.
Well, speaking of that, how we have changed the liturgy. Now, it's been well over 20, 30 years, but I still, in my mind, will use the old liturgy, the old words in the Mass, and instead of saying,
wait, they just changed it. They just changed it like 5 years ago.
No, it was longer.
Consubstantial.
Well,
not 20, 30 years.
Say the Lord is with you, the Lord be with you, and also with you. They don't say that anymore. They go,
no,
and with your
spirit.
And I don't do that. I'm old school, and so whenever I go to Mass, there are always people looking at me like, heathen, you probably don't go to Mass that often. And it's not. It's so ingrained in you.
Right.
What you learn as a child is what you will always know. So this whole extra part of the Lord's Prayer, it's lovely. But, I mean, to me, it's kind of like extra, filler.
Yeah.
It's like, amen, we're done, thank you.
Okay, Christy here says, spectacles, testicles, wallet, watch. So yeah, right to left. No, that's the wrong way, dude. That's the Greek Orthodox way. Or Ukrainian. It does that as well. It's not Roman Catholic. Gregory says they said on the broadcast what he was. Porchview says we do. I guess bless yourselves. Congressional. What is congressional? I've never heard of congressional. What is that, like 5 people somewhere?
Congregational, maybe.
I don't even know what that is. So sorry.
You got
Hermit self.
two clueless Catholic girls here.
I know. Wait, there's other religions out there besides Catholic?
like who are you people?
Come on.
Get baptized. Come on.
Hermit Sal says, where's Father Guido Sarducci?
Father Guido.
Greg says, I still say et cum spiritu tuo.
Yes. I love the Latin Mass. I go to the Tridentine Mass whenever I get an opportunity. And it truly is so moving. And then when they sing, you know, and Tantum Ergo and so many of the old songs are just, it really gives you a sense. I don't need to know what the priest is saying. You know, I know what he's saying, but I don't get to hear it in the vernacular. I love it in the Latin.
Portuguese says, congregationalist, we are the pilgrims. Who knew?
Yeah, congregationalist.
They
have really nice churches. They're beautiful.
Oh, really?
The old, it's like they're very austere. Unlike our churches where in every particular corner where you can squeeze a statue or the bleeding heart of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Did you grow up with that did you have relatives who hung those posters and pictures? I grew up with a grandmother who lined the walls with the bleeding heart of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And when I would get up in the middle of the night when I was staying over at her house and, you know, trot down the hallway to go to the bathroom, I'd have pictures of Jesus looking at me or his bleeding heart, and it freaked me out. It was like being in a Stephen King novel.
Both sides had a picture of the Pope, a picture of John F. Kennedy, and, you know, a crucifix in every room. Ron says, I still think in Latin. Okay, we're really running behind here. So since we're on the, religion and we're talking about the RNC, I want to ask you, did Trump seem different last night? Like, now, I really, like, when he got up, it was hard for him to get up. I thought the left was like, oh, he looks frail. He also was tackled by 7 Secret Service agents. So he's bruised up. Michael Goodwin did an interview with him, and Trump showed him one of the bruises. So he's really bruised up because he was just literally, you know, like tackled by the New York Giants, you know, so he's bruised. But he did say that the assassination attempt had an, quote, impact on him. Jonathan Karl asked him, and he said, I don't like to think about that, but yes, I think it has an impact. And I think we'll see it Thursday night when he speaks. He totally rewrote the speech. He's writing it, the speech that he's going to give Thursday at the RNC. And I think it had an impact because he also said that he believes that he was saved, like that was divine intervention. He believes that was divine intervention. And I got to tell you, and I'm curious what other people think. 2 Catholic women here, so both of our hands are going to go up and go, oh, hell yes, St. Michael was working overtime, and so was his guardian angel, and I'm sure Jesus had a hand in that. So to go by the tip of his head, I don't know. I look at that and I think that guy got off 8 shots. And I mean, I feel for that man who Corey Compratore, for him to have been killed is terrible. For those 2 men who are still in the hospital who are wounded, it could have been so much worse. And I know that doesn't make the Compratore family feel any better. But man, what are the odds of that happening? That he turns his head and goes right through the ear, like that little tiny section at the top, like. I think there was a hand in it. I know if you guys put it, you know, please in the comments, tell me what you think, because I'm pretty sure I know what Christine thinks.
No question. You know, we believe in miracles. I do believe in miracles. I mean, literal miracles that I think St. Michael, St. John the Baptist, you know, the warrior saints were out there, St. Joan of Arc. I think you cannot explain how he, at the exact moment that the bullet was heading for him, turned his head. Had he not turned his head, he would be dead. There is no explanation for it. And for the people out there who say there is, that it's just complete chance that this happened, no. It's I mean, you want to believe that, that's your world. I'm sorry, you have a very limited world if you don't have some concept of the divine and of the infinite and things we cannot explain. We cannot explain what happened there. The only explanation is lack of explanation, lack of human explanation, lack of reasonable explanation. And so that leaves the divine. Whether you call him God, Jehovah, Muhammad, what's his name? What do they call him? Allah. Whatever you call him, he had his hand in what just happened. And to get back to your first question, I absolutely think that Trump is changed. And I think you see it in his demeanor. You're going to laugh at this, Mary. And this may sound like I'm making fun, and I'm not at all. But you know, in the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, you know what the Grinch's face looks like all through the cartoon. And then when he gets that spirit, when he sees all the Who's singing, and then you see his little heart, the little baby little heart, get bigger and bigger, and you look at the face, and there's this glow. And I'm looking at Trump's face, and he doesn't look like the Grinch glowing, but there is a calm and a tranquility and otherworldliness about it. And I really do think that that is a reflection, an outward reflection of a change inside of him.
Yeah. Well, I know I'd like to think I had a hand in this, because when I say my rosary, I always say a prayer to St. Michael and to protect Donald Trump, to send an angel to wrap your wings around Donald Trump and to protect him, because we've been told now probably for about a year. I mean, the first time I was told that the Secret Service was worried about a credible threat to Donald Trump was about 8 months ago. And ever since then, I've been saying, please, don't let anything happen to him. Okay, Anton says Hermit Sal, Father Sarducci, Don Novella, is still alive. He's 80 years young.
I thought he would have been older. God bless him. That's not that bad.
Well, he was. I thought he would be older too, because that was the 1970s, right?
Yeah, he was on SNL at the very beginning, so.
Well, that would make sense if he was in I thought he was older when he was on SNL though. So I thought he was a lot older. Okay. Jerry says, absolutely the hand of God. Porchview Farm says, total God moment. Trump felt it and knows this. I agree. And exactly what you said, Christine, something made him duck down too, and maybe that was just his reaction, because you saw all sorts of reactions behind him. Some people were screaming, some people ducked, some people were standing there with their phones going, what's happening, right? Like, you don't know until you're in that moment. So to Monday morning quarterback, the way people reacted, I think, is really wrong, because you weren't there. If you've never been in that type of situation, you need to really be quiet about it. You need to sit down, because you don't know what you're talking about. Shore said, Ephesians 6:11, put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. And that's what Tim Scott said. Tim Scott said on Saturday the devil was in Pennsylvania. Gregory, I saw something, maybe it was a meme that said the president heard the voice of Shinzo Abe and turned toward it. I found that beautiful. I had not heard that. Ron says, this is really bugging the godless left folks. Yeah, it is. Even more, all the more better. Okay, let's see. There's so much to ask. We don't know anything about the Secret Service and what was going on with that debacle, and why they were in that glass building, the American glass building, where the assassin was on top of the roof for over 30 minutes. They were inside the building looking out the window instead of on the roof. That's where they were stationed, was inside the building, which I think is absolute insanity. 3 snipers were stationed inside the building that the shooter used, and that's according to CBS News. The operations plan had them stationed inside looking out windows towards the Trump rally. One of the snipers saw Crooks outside looking up at the roof. observing the building and disappearing. He came back, sat down, looked at his phone. At that point, one of the snipers took a picture of him. Crooks took out a rangefinder and the sniper radioed to the command post. Crooks disappeared again, came back a third time with a backpack. The snipers called in with information that he had a backpack and said he was walking towards the back of the building. They believe he may have used an air conditioning unit to get on top of the roof. By the time other officers came from backup, he had already climbed on top of the building, was positioned above and behind the snipers inside the building. Two other officers who heard the snipers call tried to get onto the roof. State police started rushing the scene, but by that time, a Secret Service sniper had already killed him. I don't understand how he's there for that long. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, my friend, because we're running out of time here, but my friend Dennis, who used to be the chief of police here in my little town, he said, feel free to use this. Hello, Fly. Dude, I want to save you. I don't want to kill you.
You're a Quaker. You're not a Catholic. You're a Quaker. We would just.
No, I always feel like I should send him outside, instead of killing him on my keyboard.
Kill him.
With my luck. No, because in my next life, I'm going to come back as a fly to teach me a lesson. Okay, the movie The Fly with Jeff Goldblum really freaked me out. Okay, he said he asks, was there an incident command post staffed by commanders of the assisting agencies? We don't know that answer. Why not? A unified communication center to monitor the operating frequencies of all assisting agencies. If there was, they failed spectacularly in implementing it. He said, we routinely did this in our little town here, where we have a population of about 3,600. He said we did this for large events, natural emergencies, large fire scenes, etc. He noted there's a water tower in the upper left corner of the image that most people see of the building and the site where Trump was, directly behind the building from which the shooter fired. Why was there not a spotter up there? It was the highest point in the area and had a clear view of all the rooftops. There are videos of the counter sniper from before the shooting started until he returned fire and eliminated the shooter. He clearly was targeted on the shooter for some time before the shots were fired. He must have radioed it in. Was he denied a green light to take out the threat? Now, I've seen it posted on X, not that that's the truth, posted on X that he has come forward and said that he was denied a green light to take the shot. I don't know that. I don't know. Well, we're never going to find out. Yeah. He said, we already have an abundance of videos from various sources, the audio recordings from the local cops who got eyewitness reports, as well as between the counter sniper team and the command. They will be very revealing. But we also know that there were people on the ground, I'm sure we've all seen the video by now, for almost 90 seconds screaming and yelling that there's a guy on the roof, right? And there was another guy, the guy who had on that red Trump hat with his reddish orange hair sticking out of it. That guy, this red beard. Yeah. He said they saw him for like 3 minutes before he started shooting.
I don't know enough about what the separate roles of the Secret Service and local security, local law enforcement is, but clearly there was no coordination between the two. And this is something, they knew that they were in an open area. They knew that there were buildings that were surrounding them that could have been slightly outside of the immediate perimeter. For them to have allowed this to happen, I tweeted out, or I posted on Facebook, support for law enforcement and the Secret Service as a general rule, because I think that they are, they rush in when the rest of us are running away. But the more I've studied this, the more I've seen, the more I've examined it, it really seems that although they protected Trump, thank God they were able to he wasn't killed. They really, really did a poor job on Saturday. And I don't even know what I don't know what the repercussions are going to be. I know they're calling for the firing of the head of the Secret Service. I know that Matt Walsh, again, has been out there saying there should be no female Secret Service officers. I think that that's like going down a rabbit hole, because there are some very effective female law enforcement. I have a problem with that, but there clearly was a problem on Saturday.
Well, to what Matt is saying, first of all, that woman who couldn't get the gun in the holster, she just couldn't holster her gun. Really? She's not doing well under fire, literal fire. She was also seen crouching behind one of the bigger guys, right?
Right.
So I'm like, well, you're not really doing your job. I just don't think you can have a woman who's 5'3" being the body person for a guy who's 6'3", right?
Right.
She
Well,
can't
no, of
cover
course.
him. So
With
why they should
isolation.
have all tall men? That's just the way it should be because his head is hanging out. Now, granted, Trump wanted it. He kept whacking her in the head, the blonde chick with the slick back ponytail, because he kept putting his arm out and he kept trying to get out there so he could say fight, fight, fight. He kept trying to do that. He kept whacking her. She's like,
Got a concussion.
you know, she's like, stop hitting me, sir. Stop hitting me, And he's trying to get out there. But you can't have someone who's shorter than the protectee as a protectee. Maybe
I
you
agree.
could be a lookout. Maybe you could do something else. But those two women, I'm sorry, had no business being on this detail that day.
No, I agree. And what you said is right. You don't necessarily have to be the person guarding the president, guarding a large, but to say that they have no place on the force, that's to say that
Right.
Tulsi Gabbard shouldn't have been in combat.
Right.
Amazing people. I mean, there are amazing women. And I'm not into DEI at all. I'm just
Right.
saying, to simply say as a statement, women don't belong in the Secret Service is ridiculous.
Well, I also don't think that they should lower standards for women in the Secret Service. They should have to run as far as the guys do. They should
Absolutely.
have to be able to hit, the same marksmanship as men have to. If the tests are unfair and geared towards men, then maybe that needs to be changed. But I do think that if you can't do the job, you shouldn't have the job. I'm funny that way. Just like I don't think blind people should be allowed to drive buses,
They can.
I'm just saying there's certain things not everybody can do. I can never work for NASA because I can't do math. So, I may want to work for NASA and I can't be an astronaut because I don't like enclosed spaces. But, it doesn't mean that if I want to be one, I should be one because I really, really want to.
I remember as a kid wanting to be an astronaut. They had us do these poster board things, what career we wanted, and I wanted to be an astronaut. And I went home, and one of my brothers explained to me that you can't be fat and be an astronaut. Because I was chubby in those days. And
Ooh.
yeah, I know. Well, it was my brother. So I redesigned my goals, my career goals. However, I did want to be an astronaut. This was in the early 70s. I was in the 5th grade, I think, or the 6th grade, 1972 or 1973. And, we just come off of Apollo and it was still, NASA was the thing, and you had Tang and you had the ice cream. Remember that
Yes, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was horrible. But
but we didn't want to admit it because it was very cool,
Cool.
It was a very cool
They
trend.
had something called space sticks. Do you remember those? They came in peanut butter and chocolate peanut. Loved those things. And my mother only bought them once and then she wouldn't buy them again because she thought they were terrible and they were expensive. So that was the end of that. That was the end of space sticks. But I liked those. But yet my parents, and I think it's because it was cheaper, my mother would give us Tang because the astronauts took it to the moon.
Yes.
Which I thought in lieu of orange juice, like actual orange juice, like we're gonna feed us. Okay. But I think it was cheaper, so that's why we got it. All right. Gregory says, I think this whole thing is as hinky as can be. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I don't think we're ever gonna find out. Jesse Waters made a great point. He said, so they told us before they haven't unlocked the guy's phone, they're working on unlocking his phone. And supposedly last night, yeah, we unlocked the guy's phone. But before they unlocked the phone, they told us that he was a lone gunman. How do you know that before you unlock the phone?
Right.
The narrative has already been set, and it's very 1963 to me. The Secret Service Secret Service put Kennedy in a convertible when they were told that's probably not a good idea, but they did. And people were pointing at the book depository because they saw somebody in the window and nobody paid attention to them and everybody's doing it, I'm sorry, but I just don't trust my government anymore.
And then they
I don't know.
Lee Harvey Oswald, so no one can ever ask him any questions about it.
Right. And somebody saw this guy with, walking with the ladder over to the glass building. Like and so is our Secret Service insanely incompetent? in which case we need to blow it up and start all over again. Or they're saying, well, we're underfunded. Really? How about then we take some of the money that we've been sending to, I don't know, Ukraine to protect our people instead of Ukraine, protect our president instead of Ukraine's presidents, right?
No, I completely agree. They're now
Yeah.
protecting. Did I hear this correctly? That they're now going to send a detail to Bobby Kennedy?
Yes.
Jr.?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Because to have a third generation of Kennedy, another Kennedy in that kind of danger, it is amazing to me that the government did not, that it took this. This is what it took to get protection for a Kennedy. I mean,
Well,
it's just,
you know why?
no.
You know why they didn't? They didn't because they didn't want to make him a legitimate candidate. They did not want to legitimize his candidacy. So you're not a real candidate. You don't get Secret Service protection.
Right. And if anything, he takes votes away from Joe Biden. Can I say something? Are we still going to be talking about Joe Biden's health now, or is that off the table? And he's just going to be, I mean, no one's going to talk anymore about, Lady McBiden. I call Jill Lady McBiden. Or, the other issues. Or has that completely been blown away now because of what happened on Saturday?
Well, if it has been completely blown away because of what happened on Saturday, I say good, because I think Donald Trump can beat Joe Biden. So that's the first thing.
I think Donald Trump has this. He's won the election. He won the election on Saturday.
I thought that in 2020, and look what happened. So.
But he wasn't. Yeah, I know. But they didn't try and assassinate him. And a lot has happened. And there's been a lot of Donald Trump hatred and a lot of calling him a Nazi. And I think this has galvanized a lot of people who were on the fence. People like me, who are not diehard MAGA people, but who appreciated what Donald Trump was able to do. I think there are a lot of people who basically said, wow, when they came for him, they came for us. And
right.
This is personal now. This isn't just Donald Trump. When they came for him, they came for us. And I think there's a sea change.
I bet we hear him say that on Thursday, because he said that before. I'm the only thing that stands. They want to get you on the only thing that stands between you and them. I bet you we hear that line again. So on a total tangent, there's so much to talk about. Oh my gosh. Let me get to some of these very quickly. Hinky as can be. Scott's heard a lot. What I heard is that at least one of the officers thought that the sniper was a Secret Service agent. That's possible, I guess, but I don't know. Wouldn't you kind of all be wearing something identifiable? Like, why would he be in camo, if he was a Secret Service agent? Local law enforcement gets the job to check the buildings from the Secret Service. Yeah, Secret Service is throwing local law enforcement under the bus. We need to see the agreement the Secret Service has with local law enforcement. Absolutely. Sal, to have only all tall men on protection detail and to have women not meet all the requirements is a violation of diversity, equity, and indigestion. They thought it was a Secret Service agent with a ladder, according to Scott. That's what they thought.
Think that though? He was 20 years. How many kids who were in the Secret Service? I mean, they're talking about. I don't get it. I mean, were they that far away that they couldn't see what he looked like, how old he was? They had to know that he wasn't part of the Corps.
They had to know if there was supposed to be somebody with a gun on top of that building.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's basic. Whether it was local police or Secret Services, there wasn't supposed to be somebody on top of that building with a gun laying on his stomach, then that's probably the enemy, I would think.
Right.
Sal says they will tell us what they decide we need to know when we need to know it. My first inclination was that somebody engineered this whole incident to take the focus off President Biden. Sal says, what a great program. Thank you. I got a little bit more. Sue says, my mind is churning now. So many things to question and be suspicious of, right? Shore says, Christine, to your point, he was not only a kid, but he was a weird looking kid with long hair, not exactly Secret Service prototype.
Yeah, where were the sunglasses? Where was the, the Men in Black kind of suit? I'm sorry.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, where was I going? I lost my train of thought. Oh, did anybody see Joe Biden today at the NAACP? So he gave a speech to the NAACP, and this is to your point you were just asking, about what is his health off the table now and everything. They clearly overjuiced Joe. Whatever they give him in his sippy cup, the Joe juice that they give him to get him going, they clearly gave him way too much because he was angry Grandpa Joe. So he's yelling, and I'm like, why is he yelling at me? What is happening here? But he was back to, these people are dangerous.
Oh,
He's,
really?
oh yeah, we're back to that already. You hear commentators on the left talking about JD Vance is dangerous. He's going to do this to women, this and this and this to women, etc. So they're fear mongering again. But Joe was back to and he compared the assassination attempt on Donald Trump because of violence. We saw the violence on Saturday with the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, like then we saw with George Floyd, as we saw with, and then he goes into all these things that he blames on the right. So
He
he
had to link it to
compared,
some kind of African American issue because he was at the
yes, and then
NAACP.
And then he went for guns, right? It's not guns. They start screaming, why don't they have the same protection for little kids? I'm like, oh my God, somebody overjuiced Joe. And he's screaming and yelling like the angry old man. But that's what dementia is. This
Yeah.
is what they do. They get that anger. There's that element. My grandfather had it where he would get really angry. And my grandmother, he'd be in the middle of the street at 2 o'clock in the morning screaming at cars, like angry, because I think they don't know where they are. There's part of that comes along with it. But he became angry, juiced up Joe, and he was keeping the ball if it came in his yard. So he was like screaming, but he compared the attempt on Trump to the violence perpetrated upon George Floyd. And I was like, wait, what? Like in my
Oh
head, if I
my
had could have gone all the
God.
way around, it would have.
Oh my God! This is often a tangent, but you mentioned JD Vance, and I can't wait for the debate between JD Vance and Kamala. I cannot wait for this debate. And I was saying last night, a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, well, JD Vance a couple of years ago he was calling Trump Hitler and this and that," and I said, "Yeah, but Kamala thought Joe Biden was a racist
Yep.
until her past was unburdened by her present or him imperfect or future perfect past, and she decided that he wasn't anymore." The hypocrisy on the left is galling. Her 180 was much more obvious than his 180 because Kamala was never a moderate kind of Joe Biden loving person. She's always played the race card. Whereas JD has always been, I wouldn't say a conservative, but he's never, ever been a raging liberal. Neither has Trump. So I think at some level he picked the perfect complement for his campaign. It's going to bring in a lot of young people. He's a millennial. Somebody said he's the Dan Quayle to George H.W. And I said, no. No, he's absolutely not the Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle was a pretty face and not much else. I think, you've got a guy who was on Yale Law Review, in the Marines, enlisted after 9/11, comes from a very depressed area, is incredibly fluent in the language of the holler and also the language of the elite halls and the intelligentsia. I think it took me a couple minutes, but I think he is now the perfect pick. I would have liked Marco Rubio just because I think he would have really spoken to a lot of Latinos who support Donald Trump. But Trump doesn't need Florida. Trump has Florida.
But it also couldn't be him because in the Electoral College,
right,
the electors in Florida can't cast both their votes, one for president, one for vice president, for the same, for two people who are from their state. So in Florida, those electors would have to cast one ballot for Donald Trump and one for Kamala Harris, or a third vice presidential candidate, or split them and do some for Joe Biden or Bobby Kennedy and some for Marco Rubio. And in a race this tight, that's extremely risky. Trump likes to take extreme risks. But I think for even him, this was just way too risky. He won in the Electoral College in 2016. Why jeopardize that in 2024?
Right. Do you think, and I also love Tim Scott.
Oh, me too. I love Tim Scott.
And he was brilliant last night at the
INC,
his speech. I truly hope if and when Trump does win a second term, that he has a very high profile place in the administration. I think, to me, although I think that Vance is the better choice for Trump to win, my personal preference out of all of them, and even though I do love Marco Rubio, I just have such a great deal of love and respect for Tim Scott. Just an amazing.
Yeah, I like him. I like him. Okay. Suze says the most transparent administration, not so much. He was too slow and slurry with Lester, so they upped the voltage. Went too far.
The voltage.
Too far. Also, Now Text USA says the media has also like that whole let's tone it down. They've blown past it. Chris says, you mean the George Floyd who overdosed on fentanyl? That George Floyd? Yes, that George Floyd. Because they're all good about equivalence. That's what they're about. They're about equivalence, and then they'll look at you and go, "That's what aboutism." I'm like, wait, what? Hermit, I pointed out that Kamala called Biden a racist, and I was called a racist. Of course. Scott, isn't it Yeah. Scott says isn't it a good feeling to get angry? But then instead of getting angry, you pray about it. Suze says VP debate, more than just popcorn, need to kick it up a bit. I can't wait. When is the VP debate? It's coming up. It's like in August, right? Because the second presidential debate's in September.
Well, when is the DNC? When's their
August. Okay. Let me see. VP debate debate, not debate 2024 is let's see. The next presidential debate is in September 10th. But they're not saying VP. I said VP. When is the vice presidential debate with JD Vance and Kamala Harris? Let's see. When is the VP? They don't say a date here. They have not yet agreed to a debate host or date yet. So we're waiting. So we don't know yet.
Sarah Palin debated Joe Biden back in 2008. She did an amazing job. She did extremely well. I actually watched it on YouTube the other night, part of it. And I think no matter what happens, the media is going to spin it that Kamala won. So it doesn't matter how well JD does. He's going to be brilliant, but it doesn't matter because the media afterwards are going to spin it. Just as at the Biden-Palin debate, she actually, she pivoted sometimes. She didn't exactly stick with the script, but she was excellent, and she didn't get the type of reaction that she deserved, and that's because the media, the fix is in. They're going to say their script is already written before the debates are even conducted.
Right. I believe that. That's why Joe Biden's going to be the candidate, because according to the Babylon Bee, they can't switch now because they've already printed up all those ballots with Joe Biden's name checked off already. Loving Life at Health says Tim Scott has dirt on him. He's from my state of South Carolina. You know what? I think that everybody, huh?
No, I was just saying he's so lucky to have Senator Tim Scott. I'm stuck with Bob Casey, and I like John Fetterman a little bit better now than I did before, but neither of them are particularly inspiring.
I got you beat. Bob Menendez.
Mr. Goldbar.
Goldbar Bob. Our guy.
Speaking of dodging a bullet, you would have thought that when he dodged that legal bullet several years ago, he would have just sort of behaved. Literally, he just went right back to doing what he was doing in the first place. It's just that hubris, that idea that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Oh, and he also threw his wife under the bus.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. And then he blames it on his wife, but you know what? She has breast cancer. So I guess he's thinking she's, I can blame her, and there'll be a sympathetic, eye towards her in the court. They'll have sympathy on her because she has breast cancer. But try to blame her. But the gold bars were like sewn in. Wasn't it like sewn into the hem of his jacket, like the Russian czar? When they were trying to smuggle the jewels out of Russia, and that's what saved some of them from getting shot initially, right? Because it was banging off all the gunshots were banging off all the bling that they had sewn into their the Romanovs had sewn into their clothes. So Gold Bar Bob's going down. By the way, I saw him. I think I met him once. It was so funny. I was with Gordon Chang, and we were having and Joe DeGeneva and Victoria Tenzing. We were having breakfast in the Senate dining room with Chuck Grassley. Not name dropping, but because I will tell you, the Senate dining room, you think it's going to be this big, great thing. It's like a walled off, like it's like a little dining area when you go to those places where you get free breakfast.
Yeah.
Right. You know, when you go to
Really?
the hotel with free breakfast, it was not like you walk in and you're like, oh, Congress is it's so beautiful. And you walk into this room and it's got like the sliding walls and stuff. Like it's like and it's small. I was like, this is really, really unimpressive. But anyway, so
But that
Gordon and
company was
I
very impressive. Mary and Joe and Victoria and anyway.
and Gordon Chang. So Gordon's from New Jersey too. So we see Bob Menendez walk in. And Gordon and I are like, should we? And of course, I get the whole be nice. Can you behave yourself? I'm like, really? Why am I the wild card? Why am I the wild card? So we went up to him and he's short. I didn't realize how short he is.
He kind of
He's
gives
short.
shortness off. He gives that Napoleonic kind of thing.
Yes, he's short, and we went up to him, and he was standing there, and he knew we were with Grassley because the next table right next to him, so he knew we're, and so Gordon of course is very nice. Gordon Chang is Gordon Chang, rah, rah, rah. And like he knew either one of us, which I doubt he did, and he's like, oh yeah, the great state of New Jersey. Like, oh yeah, well not for long, like everybody else, we're getting out. I did.
Being nice. That's great. But you're a
What's he
Jersey
gonna do?
girl,
Not pay
born
for
and
my? I mean,
raised.
what did he care? He doesn't care. He didn't care. So as long as he's getting his.
How long was he your senator?
Oh, forever, because the Perth Amboy section with the Latinos vote for him. That's when he puts on the whole Hispanic thing and the speaking in Spanish and all that other stuff every
He's
4
Cuban,
years or
right?
6 years rather. He does that, and he's got the whole area of Patterson, that whole thing. It's so
Union.
gerrymandered. It's
Union
ridiculous.
County, yeah.
So
Well, who
gerrymandered.
are they going to get now? Who's running for his seat?
I think it's going to be Andy Kim. It gets it.
Oh, he's from South Jersey.
I think
That's
it's
right,
Andy.
because Mrs.
Yeah.
Murphy decided not to run. Mrs. Murphy decided that it wasn't a good thing for
Oh,
the
darn.
governor's wife to run, right?
Darn. I could have had her. I mean, does it even matter? Who cares? I mean, these people keep voting for the same crap over and over again. I'm like, you know what? I was walking in town with my husband. And we had on our Trump shirts on Sunday, the day after the assassination attempt, which I was like, that's it. I'm wearing my Trump shirt in public. And it says Trump 2024. I'm voting for the felon, or vote for the felon. And we both had them different colors. And we passed these two guys on the sidewalk, and everybody always says in this little town, hi, if you're walking down the street and a car drives by, you wave at each other, that type of thing. These two guys come by with one had a University of North Carolina shirt on, and they come by and they didn't say hello or anything, and he comes by, one of them comes by and goes, ugh, like that. It's just like, I just snickered. I didn't say anything, just ugh.
He's from the University of North Carolina and he had a problem with your shirt? That's kind of weird.
He's probably
Yale or Harvard.
No, he probably is a kid who goes to UNC and he's a New York transplant. I'm sure. That's probably what it was. But I was really good. I didn't say anything because I was really good. I exercised restraint, and I'm so proud of myself for exercising restraint.
You. I don't.
Okay, let's go.
Trying to exercise restraint, but it's not working really well.
All right, so I think this is interesting. Watching Your Back says we need a drinking game for the next presidential debate. So I'd have to figure out how I can stream it, but how can I stream it on here without getting dinged for copyright from Fox or ABC or NBC or CBS or something like that? I'm going to get dinged for copyright, and then the whole episode gets taken down. We could have fun while we're watching it, but I'm going to get dinged.
I don't know how to do that either.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I can reach out to my old copyright professor from Villanova and see what he says.
Oh, that would be spectacular. You and I could do it together, and everybody comes in, and we could have certain words. We'll have it agreed upon. I can post like an agreed upon bingo card or something, or every time he says this or this one says that, you have to drink.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We could just, although I think it's during the week, Christine, and you have to work the next day. So unless your boss gives you.
I can stay up. I won't turn into a pumpkin.
Yeah, but you could be drunk.
Yes, and I was up until almost 1 a.m. watching Argentina win the Copa de America, beat Colombia, so I can do a debate.
Oh, hell no. Not for soccer. Hermit
He
Sal
was,
says,
he was Argentina.
how come Biden did not choose Corn Pop as his VP? I love this.
Because they didn't get
Loving
along.
Life Health, Babylon Bee is satire from what I've heard. Yes, it's satire. It's hilarious satire. And they have a habit of saying things that then later come true. And what they say is so ridiculous and hilarious. It's the best website out there ever. And they're follow them on X. They're great. Citizen
Jeff
Free
Dylan's
Press is
brilliant.
another one. Great one too. Let's see. Sue says Bob Casey is like Punxsutawney Phil. He pops out when he's up for re-election.
It's so true, Sue. Oh my God. The guy is, I mean, the two of them, they deserve each other. Biden and Casey are both from Scranton. Originally, I mean, Biden was 13 when they moved from Scranton to Delaware. And Casey, you know, I mean, that family is the family of Scranton, the first family of Scranton. They're the Kennedys of Pennsylvania. And he's done absolutely nothing. He is, when I've reached out to him for immigration help, I get no response. When Pat Toomey was senator, immediately I would ask him for some help. He would respond. And he was the Republican. You would think that Casey, who talks about his love for immigrants and his, you know, concern and care for immigrants, would have lifted a finger. Nothing. Just like my Congresswoman, Mary Gay Scanlon, same thing. Oh, she cares so much about immigrants, but she will not respond to any of my emails when I need some kind of congressional assistance.
What happened to Rick Santorum? Wasn't he from Pennsylvania?
Yeah, he was. And
What
didn't he
happened to
win
him?
in New Hampshire? Or no, he won the Iowa caucuses. I forget what year that was, but he had a pretty.
Wasn't
Yeah,
his wife was sick, right?
no, his baby, his
That's right.
his little daughter Bella. She had trisomy.
Trisomy 3.
Trisomy.
Trisomy 3.
And I
Yeah.
believe she's still alive. I think she's actually 16. And that was, you know, part of his narrative. He's very, very pro-life. And, you know, a lot of these women who say, oh, you know, trisomy and you know, that's why I need my late-term abortion and this and that. You look at people who have actually given birth to these children. Yes, the children do have significant disabilities, but this child is beloved of the Santorum family, and they raise them, they love them, they care for them. That's why, you know, don't get me started on the abortion issue.
No. His one of his children went to Villanova because when I was in DC, I was at a dinner, and it was for the Daily Caller News Foundation. So there were a lot of politicians who were there, and Rick Santorum was there. So I got a picture of us going like this with our V's up.
He's a good guy, you know. I think he you know, he had some issues, but I think he was very articulate. He was from Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he was Italian. You know, Santorum is, I don't know if they changed the name or cut off an end vowel or whatever. But yeah, he was from Western Pennsylvania, probably from the area, from that Butler area, Pittsburgh out there.
Scott says he, being Bob Menendez, was raised to keep money around the house and gold. It's the way he does things, kind of like the prosecutor in Georgia. Yeah, his parents are from Cuba, and he talked about his dad coming here with literally nothing. So I'm not quite sure what kind of gold bars his dad was keeping around the house. I work for Fannie Willis, so I think it's going to work. He thinks it's going to work for him. Now, this one's interesting. Hermit Sal says Bob Menendez's conviction proves that not only is no one above the law, but their cultural excuses are not above the law. Sal? This is Bob Menendez's second go round here. The first time he had a hung he said it was a favor that his friend, the Dr. Melugin, Dr. Melgin, all those trips to the Dominican on his private plane had nothing to do with the Medicare deal that Melugin got, and it had nothing to do with the alleged there and that whole thing about sex with underage girls, and because he's in the pocket of everybody, right? Everybody's in his pocket. He got off, and when he was leaving the courtroom after that, he said, I am going to, went up to the press to talk to them when he got off the first time. He said, I am going to remember. I will remember who was with me and who wasn't. It's a very Jersey thing to do. I'm going to remember who was with me and who wasn't. You know, and off he goes, and he did it again. So he was above the law.
Yeah.
So the wild card queen. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Maybe you could put a disclaimer up while you're streaming the video that says it's not yours and copyrights go to respected owners. Yeah, but you can't do it on YouTube. Santorum is big in the Convention of States movement, I think, according to Gregory. Watch your back. Big deal. Will Menendez get time? Notice Schumer hasn't removed him. No, but Schumer called for him to resign. Murphy's called for him to resign. He gets sentenced October 29th, and he could go away for years and years. Jonathan Turley was saying, even though he's elderly and this is his first, he has never been convicted before, that based on, just the egregiousness of what he allegedly did. What he did, it's not alleged, what he did, and the time before that as well, he's probably going to do some time. So we'll see. Jerry, Gold Bar Bob said that all the senators do the kind of things that he did. We need him to name names and squeal like the weasel he is. There you go. Sal, I did not really know his past history. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he gets away with a lot. So, all right. We got to run. Look at how long this has gone. I know whenever you're on, and we have so much news, and we didn't even get to the classified documents. Oh, well, we didn't even get into that. We didn't have time.
I know. I'm sorry. We were talking too much about, we did the Catholic stuff. I apologize.
No, that's not your fault, because I played the video. I mean, that was part of the whole thing yesterday, with whether Trump's changed and everything. I think it was good. So I will be here on Tuesday. We'll be back. And I don't know, maybe if Christine's around, she wants to come back, we could do that. But definitely if we do like a debate drinking game thing, I just don't know how ask your friend if we could do that.
I am going to ask my old copyright professor from Villanova Law School. He's fabulous. He's wonderful.
Yeah, let's do that, and get back to me, because that would be a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, except I'm such a lightweight. I'm gonna have to take a sip of water for every sip of whatever it is I'm drinking, because I'm such a lightweight.
Alcohol. This is Mountain Dew.
That's so funny.
In honor of JD Vance, I got myself some moonshine. Mountain Dew.
Do you know, I actually have moonshine from the Adirondack distillery. We pass it on the way up to my in-laws' home up on Lake George, and they have lemonade flavor and apple pie flavor and all this stuff. But I've pretty much figured out it's cheaper to just buy the moonshine and then mix it into your lemonade on your own.
Wow. It's like the recipe on the Waltons. Remember the sisters? They used to make the recipe on the Waltons.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Who was that? The sisters. I don't remember who they were.
Emily, and I forget the other one's name. Miss Emily Miss somebody.
If you could pull that out of your butt, I was going to be really impressed if you did that. So
I forget the sister's last name, and I know that one of them was named Emily, and they made the recipe.
Yeah. What did they call it? It wasn't called moonshine. It was called something else.
The recipe.
The recipe. Right. The recipe. The recipe.
They used to sell it in mason. Not sell it. They used to give it in mason jars as a gift.
Hey, why not? It makes everybody happy. All right. Thank you so much, Christine. Follow her on X at FlowerLady61. Follow her on X. You can also find her on WPHT. She's a frequent guest there in Philadelphia. Follow her columns. If you go to, it's the Cheadle. What is it?
It's Kegel.
Kegel.com.
So all of my columns will pop up there.
Yes. Yes, you can follow her there. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate you joining us. Lots of compliments. They love you, Christine. Thank you, everybody.
You're also smart, especially you guys. Well, I was going to say down at the Jersey Shore, but all over in South Carolina.
That's right.
And I'm jealous. So
they're all over. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye, sweetie.